Hello everybody, welcome to this channel, Clodfeitoza, CLODOALDO da Silva Feitoza, and it is a great pleasure for me to be here talking with you about important spiritual matters which help us in our experience in our life here in the planet Earth. My name is CLODOALDO da Silva Feitoza, and I am an independent researcher of spirituality here in Brazil. I was Catholic. After that, I was Jehovah's Witnesses for 7 years, and after that, I was also a Spiritist. And now I dedicate myself. I'm not part of any of these religions. I am myself, my religion. I am the religion, and I dedicate myself to this work on the internet, helping people to maintain their spirituality inside or outside a religious organization. And today, I would like to talk to you about a very specific topic for the most of followers of this channel who are active Jehovah's Witnesses or not, and who are in some way removed from the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses, which is why it's so difficult to leave the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses. This is an important issue because there are many people today who are currently Jehovah's Witnesses and are dissatisfied with some things that happens in the organization, or who are taught in the religion, but do not have the strength necessarily to follow another spiritual path. And this happened because if a person leaves the organization either for having been expelled from them, or by personal decision, because the people want to have other spiritual experiences. In both cases, the result of this exit is the same. The person who decides to leave the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses is, in the view of the members and of the governing body, a person who decided to not to be more part of the only true religion on earth, or part of God's chosen people, or even a person who decided to turn his back to God, and as a result, this person may be, or certainly be, in the view of the leaders of the organization, destroyed in the Armageddon and will not have eternal life. First of all, I would like to tell you who are Jehovah's Witnesses and who is watching me now, that I have no prejudice against Jehovah's Witnesses as a religion, or against you personally, because I was part of the religion for 7 years of my life, and I know exactly what it means to be a Jehovah's Witnesses. So I don't have any prejudice against you. On the contrary, I have deepest respect for the religion and for you, a member of the religion. I would also like to tell you that I recognize the great advances that the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses made over the years, as well as the changes that it has made and that favor its members. I understand how difficult it may be for you to receive any criticism of the organization with an open mind, because the organization has a central role in your life, and you probably cannot see yourself living without the organization. And it's very natural for you to have, for me and for you, it is very natural for this to happen, because you will agree that that the organization is not a perfect organization, so it made up by imperfect humans. There is no denying that it provides a very welcoming, a very organized, a very well-structured spiritual environment to offer a person a comfortable lifestyle as regard to spirituality and as regard the relationship with God. And I recognize and I admire all these too. But you also will agree with me that despite all these things, all these good things, the organization always has faults. And many of them disturb us in the deepest part of our being. There are things that happens in the organization that we can only accept if we have a firm conviction that it really comes from God. On the contrary, we would never submit or obey that thing. So, when we receive such a certain instruction, in my opinion, the correct thing is that we should always ask ourselves if the instruction that we are receiving is really in accordance with the law of justice and charity and love taught by our Master Jesus Christ. If so, we can take it easy. But if it is not, we must have the courage to reject it because it's not the truth. Instructions in disagreement with God's laws are issued in all religions. So that over the time, these instructions lose their meaning and cease to be taught or followed. For example, for a long time, the Catholic Church sold indulgences, that is, divine favors in exchange for money. This over the time proved to be something completely wrong, and don't exist nowadays. Protestant churches have also undergone profound reforms in their doctrines over the time too. The same can be said about the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses. Many teachings have been already modified several times over the years, showing that what is taught now, today, as an absolute truth coming from God, tomorrow may be different, may not be seen in this way. Therefore, it is always necessary for us to keep our minds open, avoiding dogmatism and fanaticism. It is necessary to understand that things change, that everything in the universe is constantly evolving, and that it happens to us too, and that we need to be willing to change our point of view in the face of clear evidence of the need for change. We cannot allow our pride to interfere in this and make us uncompromising people who, despite the clear evidence that we are in the wrong path, we do not accept the change and insist in continuing on a determined path or way of a life or a lifestyle, because that is what is seen to be the most comfortable for us. And the governing body itself encourages us to do this, to maintain our mind opened. In an advice published in the book You Can Live Forever in a Paradise Earth, published in 1982, in its third chapter entitled "The Religion What you belong to really makes a difference." In the pages 33, 32, and 33, which I invite you to read with me. It is an interesting advice that I will read here, and I personally like this advice and apply it in my life until today. And it's very interesting. I will read to you. In the paragraph 20, we read, "How should you feel if proof is given that what you believe is wrong? For example, say that you were in a car traveling for the first time in a certain place. You have a road map, but you have not taken time to check it carefully. Someone told you the road to take. You trust him, sincerely believing that the way he has directed you is correct, but suppose it is not. What if someone points out the error? What if he, by referring to your own map, shows that you are in the wrong road? Would pride or stubbornness prevent you from admitting that you are in the wrong road? Well, if you learn from the examination of your own Bible that you are traveling a wrong religious road, be willing to change. Avoid the broad road to destruction. Get on the narrow road to life." That is really a very interesting advice, and that as I said to you, I obey, I accept until today in my life. But the problem is that the governing body applied this advice only in relation to the other religions, but not in relation to the religions of Jehovah's Witnesses. In my view, this should be applied to any religion, including Jehovah's Witnesses. Just for you to reflect with me, the Apostle Paul, before being a follower of Jesus Christ, was a man of great zeal for his religion, which was Judaism. This religion did not consider the Christianism to be a correct religion because it did not accept the instruction of the Jewish religious leaders, but the instructions of Jesus Christ, who those leaders had a part in his death. Because of his zeal for the religion to which he belonged, and because he was too attached to what his leaders taught, Paul, at times Saul de Tarsus, participated intensely in the persecution of Christians, even participating in the execution of one of them, Stephen. How different was this attitude of Paul in relation of the attitude of his teacher, Gamaliel, also a Jew, a teacher in the Sanhedrin, Paul's instructor, but who did not have a behavior in an aggressive and fanatical way in relation to the new religion, the Christianism, and which said, as recorded in Acts 5:38 and 39 in the Bible, which I invite you to read with me here in the translation of the New World Translation of the Holy Scriptures. Acts chapter 5, versicles 38 and 39. In which we read, 38, "And so, under the present circumstances, I say to you, do not meddle with these men, but let them alone, because if this Shem or or this work is from man, it will be overthrown. But if it is from God, you will not be able to overthrow them. Otherwise, you may perhaps be found fighters actually against God. That's very interesting. Gamaliel's vision of the birth of the new religions, the Christianism. He respected them, he accepted them, and understood that if this new religion the Christianism was from God, anyone could stop the work of the new religion. It was very interesting, the way of understanding of Gamaliel, the Paul's instructor. Fortunately, Saul of Tarsus stopped persecuting Christians, but not because of his own will. As you know, he through a process of supernatural spiritual enlightenment. He had to hear Jesus' own voice asking him to stop persecuting him, and to be blind for a while and be restored by a disciple of Jesus. Only after that he stopped persecuting Christians and became one of them. So, my dear brothers, what I mean by this is that, in my point of view, if we are dogmatic, fanatical people who follow everything to the letter without questioning anything, we can run the risk of doing something that is in total disagreement with the divine laws, believing that we are doing God's will. That has happened in the past, it happens in the present day, and will continue to happen in the future. The question we must ask to ourselves is, will I be part of this? I will give you a personal example. When I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses, I always questioned what was taught there. One of the things that I never accepted was the question of how Jehovah's Witnesses treat the fellowship people. There is, everyone is forced to stop talking with such people. I never accepted this, and that was one of the reasons why I decided to leave the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses. That for me was always an absurd. That for me was always religion discrimination, and in total odds with the laws of God. For I am convinced that God would never command to cause people suffering to prove that He is the one who is right. God does not need this. This is always things that has always been a thing created by man. So how I did it? I never fully obeyed this law. Whenever I met a disfellowship brother, I always greet him. I remember at time that this person was a brother and that God never abandoned this person. Anyone, God does not abandon anyone. And should I do this? Should I abandon a person? Should I stop to talk with a person that God could forgive, for example? Of course, I had to be very discreet in doing this. Sometimes, when I was in the presence of other brothers, I just gave a smile of acceptance to the person, this fellowship person, or a facial gesture. In the end, or when I had the opportunity, I talked with the person, I spoke with them. So I always give the evidence for this fellowship people that I continue considering him as a brother. And this disobedience, sometimes I was called, and the matter was brought up to the elders, and I simply told them that I would do not eat again. And after that, I disobeyed again and again and again, and this repeated until themselves did not care. And I was a ministerial servant at the time. Maybe they took into account my position at the time and just decide to ignore my attitude against my attitude regarding this fellowship person. I don't know exactly how I could pass through all this time doing this. And what I know that I never accepted this role, and I never obeyed it completely. I always disobeyed in some way. I believe there are several ways to resist an abusive law. One is by openly declare that we are against it and will not obey it and face the consequences immediately. And another is by simply ignore it and continue doing exactly as we do, disobeying the rule until the limit. If a lot of people within the Jehovah's Witnesses did like this, and did not surrender to the forays made by the governing body in the publications to prohibit contact between members and dissociated ones, in the time would give in the change, they could change this rule, because the leaders of the organization could not disfellowship everybody, because doing this would be the end of the organization itself. And with the passage of time, the role of this fellowship would disappear. But the problem is the obedience that most of Jehovah's Witnesses do about this role, the blind obedience. This is the problem. I know that there are many warrior brothers who do exactly as what I did within the organization, and many of them are in the leadership positions. And I met some of these people personally. Of course, these people are often frightened as being spiritually weak. But I say to you that the important is not how humans sees, but how God sees. Another question that I leave you with is the following: would it be necessary for Jesus himself to tell you personally that the law of this fellowship is wrong through an apparition, as he did with the Apostle Paul? Or would it be possible that through the intelligence that God gave you, through the reason, through the reasoning, through the careful study, through your own intuition, could you understand by yourself that this rule is not correct, as did Gamaliel regard the situation of the Christianism? It is interesting to ask this to ourselves. The question is, how attached I am to the organization rules, even the ones I don't agree in my heart. Finally, I would like to ask you who are Jehovah's Witnesses and is watching me now, for you not to have what I said in this video, in other videos, as a personal attack on your beliefs. It is not this. I'm just reasoning with you in a free way without the interference of the organization, just appealing to your own reason, to your own personal intuition, because as I already said in other videos, the truth for me is not in any place if not within ourselves. I'm not telling you that Jehovah's Witnesses organization is a bad religion and that you should get out of there. I'm not telling you this. I'm telling you that it's necessary to maintain our mind open to new ideas. But if you understand that it is better for you to remain in the organization, that there is a better place for you to develop your spirituality, I just wish you all the best and wish your spiritual development within the organization. But if you realize that there is a need for changes, either in the organization itself or in your personal life, that is, if you want to follow another path, consult other sources, try other experiences, and don't get stuck in the idea that if you leave the organization, will automatically be removed from the presence of God and will not have His favor. Do not surrender to the organization threat that by moving away from the organization, you will lose your spirituality and will lose your eternal future. There are life outside the organization. Albert Einstein wrote, "The mind that opens up to a new idea never goes back to its original size." With that phrase, he meant that we will always have new things to learn, and if we were open-minded to the new ideas, we will always have benefits, because our minds expand and never goes back to the original size, and we will become persons capable of unlimited learning. There is a multitude of knowledge to be explored by us in science, in philosophy, in spirituality, or in social relations, or even within ourselves, constantly seeking to understand what we really are. Being free from prejudice, the dichotomy of right and wrong, the presumption that we already have all knowledge, the limits imposed by human organizations, and with our open conscience to the new ideas, we will be ready to obtain the necessary knowledge and wisdom to have a satisfying life in the present and the excellent prospects for our future, individually or as humanity as a whole. As difficult as may seem to be leaving the organization, I can assure you that if you have the real desire for spiritual evolution, we will not only be able to live it smoothly and find a new path, but you will also feel even closer to God, because you have the opportunity to study Him and to understand Him better without the malicious and controlling interference of certain religious leaders. It is true that there are many challenges in following a lonely spiritual path as I'm doing. Just because I'm not encouraging you to do that. This is your choice. You decide to do this. I'm just saying that the organization is not the only way as it claims to be. And even if you decide to stay in the organization, it is also possible to have a high level of spiritual development within. Now, do not confuse spiritual development with the so-called privileges or positions offered by the organization. You will find extremely spiritual people of great love, of extreme affection, kind and wonderful people like human beings, real followers of Jesus Christ inside the Kingdom Hall, often without any privileges, or even who are left aside as weak in faith or little understood for not following some things that the organization orders. And you will also find people who have high privileges or position in the organization who are actually true spiritual beggars, people without love, who do things just by obligation or for selfishness, or deceived or dissatisfied, attached to material things, and who value only those brothers who have money. This is still not, those still do not understood the true meaning of the law of love and charity taught by our Master Jesus Christ. And if you have been a victim of this or one of these, the best thing to do is to forgive them, as they will have to render accounts to the excellent shepherd for the lost sheep they have helped to keep apart from the flock of God. So I finish my presentation today. If you like this